Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Corb here, and today we are jumping into a very quick and easy guide to farming. Just a disclaimer, this guide is for early access version 0.7.955 and is obviously subject to change, but fear not, my loyal viewer, I will be putting out new guides once new patches are released. So let's go ahead and jump on in. So, you want to be a farmer. Of course you do. But is it worth it? Well, let's talk about it from a food perspective. So, farming for food is currently right now in the game, is it worth farming for food? I would say, unfortunately, no. There are much better methods for producing food for your village in the current build of the game than farming. Is farming absolutely useless? The answer is also no. You can actually get quite a bit of wheat and bread. The problem that you see that seems to come from farming is that it takes so long to do. You spend all year waiting for your farm to grow. In the spring, you have to send a bunch of your villagers over to plant your fields, and then you have to wait all year, and then at the very end, you get to harvest your yield of wheat, and then make bread through the winter. There are much more efficient ways of doing that. My recommendation for the current build for everybody is going to be using your burgage plots to make vegetable gardens. Make very large, well, decently large vegetable plots here, as well as you can throw down a few of the chicken coops as well. These will also provide a passive yield of eggs. Not the best source of food, but it is there as well. But yes, these vegetable plots are going to do wonders for you. That on top of a berry deposit and hunting, that is going to produce 90% of the food for your village. So is growing wheat worth it? I would say probably not, but you could still get away with it and have a great time and have a very successful game. Now, for other things, let's say you want to plant barley, which I have here. That is absolutely worth it. Building a barley farm is a great source of happiness for your town, because what your people will do with the barley farm is once you create your malt house here, which is what I am currently working on for this village, you're going to be able to start brewing alcohol for your people, at which point you can build breweries like I've got here for our residents, and they'll start making that beer that will be sold at your tavern, which will make your people so very happy.
Break out the ale! These men are thirsty!
The third and final option that you can do for your farms is going to be making flax. So flax is a crop that can be weaved into linen to help you produce more clothing for your people. This is great in theory. However, there are multiple other ways that you can be producing clothing for your people. Not saying that this is not a bad option, because it adds another item to your list of clothing. But if you followed my sheep guide or any other sheep guide out there, you already have access to clothing by having a sheep farm, and they are constantly getting wool from your sheep, as well as a very early game setup you can get for clothing is going to be your tannery. When your hunters go out and they kill the wildlife in the nearby area, they will also bring back hide, which can be turned into leather. So yes, flax is good. Is it amazing? I would also say, unfortunately, no. When it comes to farming, I think barley is going to be your way to go, but these other options give you multiple ways of doing things, and I do enjoy that about the game. So, you're ready to get your first field going. What do? So what you're going to end up doing is you're going to come down here to construction, and you're going to go to the farming tab here. Here in the farming tab, you're going to find field. And what you need to do with field is, just like a lot of the other building, it's going to give you a chance to drag your plots and snap to roads, which is awesome. One of the other very important features that it does is it immediately pulls up your overlay, where you can see different kinds of fertility depending on what you're looking for. So emmer, you've got your flax, your barley, and your rye. Rye is something a little bit later. What you're really going to be looking for right now, if you want food, is going to be your emmer fertility. If you want to make more clothes, it's going to be flax, and barley for alcohol. Now, you might not get a very good plot of land in your initial starting city area, which is okay. You can make it work. It's not the biggest deal here, so we still have a little bit for our emmer, so it looks like we're good for wheat. But flax and barley, it's not going to be the greatest. Yellow is going to end up being the best that we have in this plot, which is okay. We can make it work. We can expand later on. Perfectly fine. So what you'll do, once you find the spot, let's just not even worry about the overlay for now. Let's just look at what we need. So let's just come right on down here. So let's say we want to build a farm here. What you're going to do is you're just going to click these spots just like this. Make the farm whatever size that you want to here. Like I said earlier, I do recommend that you make smaller plots. It is going to help in the long run. You can kind of build up as your city grows. So you would make that plot, and then you'd go ahead and hit build there, and it will immediately create that field. It's one great perk. If you decide you don't like how this field looks, you can delete it and build another one immediately without sacrificing your villagers. It's a great tool. So let's not worry about that, right? So let's say you built your field. So let's come on back up here. Let's say this is the field that you built here. And as you can see, we actually have somebody go ahead and plowing this in October. I have one of our oxen set up to this one. So let's say you built this field. The next thing you're going to need is a farmhouse. So in order to actually get your workers to work on this field, you have to assign them to the farmhouse, and they'll automatically move out and start going out into the fields. So you're going to go to construction here, and then right next to field in the farming tab, you're going to see farmhouse. You're going to build that farmhouse there. Now, the more fields that you start to get and the more room that you start having for farming, I do recommend building multiple farmhouses. That way you can put families on different farmhouses, but a main reason I do recommend this is you could actually assign a livestock to each farmhouse with the perk going into, if you click on your city name here, heavy plow. This will allow that farm animal to help your farmers by plowing the lands, and they are much faster than your farmers are. So having that animal stationed at your farmhouse is going to help you plow these fields, just like this one right here. See, this takes one farmer and one oxen, and they are doing a fantastic job. This one is already almost done, and you see we've got a few farmers out here just taking their sweet time. So it truly does speed these up. I could probably have 3 or 4 farmhouses here and just have the oxen doing this, and they could plow all these fields for me. So once you have your farmhouses, what you want to do is you're going to click on your field. So these fields have already been started here, but what you're going to do is you're going to check which crop that you want to grow, whether it be fallow, which doesn't give you any yield, but it does increase the fertility. Your barley or your wheat and flax options are going to be your initial starting options here. So once you do that, once spring comes around, and our team actually got done harvesting early, so they're plowing the fields here in autumn. But usually what you'll do is you'll get this set up in spring. They'll plow the fields, plant the crops, and then you wait all year for your crops to be done, and at which point you'll throw your people back into your farmhouses, and they will go and they will pull all of the crops out of the fields and store them in your farmhouse, at which point your person working in your granary will come over and start pulling all of that out as well. So that's the basic gist of how the farming works. So you build your field, you choose what you want to put in the field. I do recommend doing crop rotation and changing things up. That way your fertility will continue to go up. It brings back your lost fertility. And then having a few different multiple crops doing different, fields doing different things here. And then in the springtime, assign your families here to come out, plow the fields, plant the crops that you want, and then unassign them during the summer months. And then come fall, when it is time to harvest your crops, assign a bunch of us of your town folks back to it. They'll come out, gather the fields, and bring all those resources back to you and store them here. Now, if you're making bread, let's say, you're going to need a windmill. Having somebody station this windmill is going to come, they're going to come over here, grab this wheat, bring it over to the windmill, grind that wheat into flour, and then if you've got a communal oven, which is another thing that you can build right over here. You build a communal oven, have somebody working in that. They're going to go and get that flour from your windmill and turn that flour into bread for food for your people. So it is a long process. And going back to talking about is farming worth it for food? the process it takes for it, I would just continue to say no. Right now, it's not worth it in the long run. Have I had a great time farming? Absolutely. It's been a blast. It's a good part of the game, and it's not completely useless, but there's just better resources and better things that you can be using your villagers for currently right now. So that's going to be it right now for the guide, guys. There's not a whole lot to it. Build your farmhouse, build your field, select what you need, and then set your farmers on it, and they'll do the rest. I would like to thank you all so much for joining me for this quick guide and discussion on farming. If you've learned anything, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. And if you want to add anything to it as well, please feel free to add it down in the comments below. And if you would like, please think about joining our family and hitting that subscribe button. I would love to have you guys. Thank you so much again for joining us. This has been Corb. Peace!